Hello and welcome back to Alchemy with Sheeana Leigh. I am sitting here very vulnerable, very tender, and I'm bringing this to you very raw dog today. I'm sitting in my office and with my beautiful hand painted mirror behind me, and I'm just really anchoring into the fact that this is going to be my last podcast in my very own home. And today I really wanted to share super tenderly and go really deep into a personal share and a story about what I'm currently transitioning through, moving through, and all of the little textures along the way that I'm learning as I move forward. And it's very tender for me because I am a very personal person. I have a very close knit, tight circle where I share all my intricacies and delicacies and most intimate bonds and relationships, and also like belief systems. And I don't really try to project that outward into a larger scale. So this is kind of like me showing up in a big way and being like, here I am, this is what's going on, because it really implements like my work, what I do, how I show up, what I share. And so I just wanted to preface this with buckle up, grab a drink. I've got a coconut water, and pretend you're just sitting across the table from me right now, having a little cocktail, talking like we're friends, and you're getting a real peek into my personal life behind the curtain and, yeah, everything that I am moving through. So I am pretty sure if you follow me on socials, if you're connected with me through email, and you've seen a different energy sort of come through. I haven't really shared a lot, but you could probably pick up the switch and the change. And I wanted to say this, and oh, it feels so raw and tender to share that I'm getting a divorce. Me and my husband have chosen to divorce and go our separate ways. And it has been a very huge decision and something I do not take lightly. Even just sort of sharing that in this moment is quite massive for me because I have moved through a lot of belief systems and pain points around this about being a failure, about, not being able to make it work. And a lot of my work is especially around conscious relationships, consciously relating, love, marriage. A lot of my work has been helping heal sexual trauma in relationship and long-term love. And I have felt the pain and sting about like, who the fuck am I to show up and talk about this now because I have failed at marriage or I have not been able to succeed per se in marriage and long-term love. And there's been some huge rewiring and patterning going on, and about who I am and how I show up and my business model and what I'm capable of. And it largely impacts how I perceive myself, how I perceive relationships. And this is why I've taken like a huge step back from holding spaces about relationships and relating at this point in time, because I'm actually sort of midwifing myself through this great wounding and this great pain and grief point of relationships being able to work, being able to communicate in relationships, giving it your all, because I don't take marriage lightly. I really take it sacred and I really show up in it. And so I wanted to share a little bit of the story and the background behind what is happening. And yeah, I'm going to take you a little bit back because this hasn't just come out of nowhere. Obviously, like this has been a gradual process over many years, and something that, we have diligently both shown up for again and again to really make work. I talk about my husband a lot, my ex-husband a lot, and what an incredible man he is. He is an amazing man. He's healed me and my woman time and time again through so much pain and trauma and wounding in my life. And I honestly wouldn't be who I am today, the woman I am, and be able to show up in this path and in my calling if it wasn't for this man. And I know you're kind of sitting there thinking, oh, well, if he's so amazing, he's so great, then how did it all crumble, or how did it come apart or undone? And the truth is, there were so many tiny cuts and aspects that really solidified this and got us to the point where we were both like, this is not true, this is not working, we're not in alignment anymore, and it is time for us both to move on to really anchor in ourselves and grow as people. Whew, this is massive, actually. Yeah, and I just wanted to keep it really raw and real and just like, I'm still in this. This is why we've sold our home. This is why we're both moving on with our lives and going our separate ways, and both showing up in different elements and following our callings and desires because they're not in alignment anymore. And I remember a few years ago when I was in my studies, and my teacher at the time, Layla Martin, was going through a separation with her partner. And it really kind of crumbled the fabric of my belief system in relationships. I was like, wow, if this person can show up and know all of these wonderful modalities and communication tools and sexual elements, and if they can't even make it work, and their reasoning at the time was it was just no longer true anymore. And I thought that was such a cop out, like such a bullshit story. And it's so funny to be sitting here and reflecting a few years later and down the track and really understanding that on such a deep level and layer of my being now, that when something is no longer true and no longer resonant, it does kind of just naturally fall apart or fall away. And there's nothing you can really do to kind of get it back, control the situation. And so, yeah, I'm sure you're all very, very intrigued because, of course, now I am that person. I teach about relationships and conscious relating and marriage and sex in marriage and pleasure in marriage and all of these yummy, delicious things. And I've utilized them and used them in my own relationship. And how has it fallen apart? And one of the things I like to remind myself of again and again is my life, this life that I was given and this life that I've chosen. I was never, ever going to have like a normal life. And I've known that for a very long time, but I think that I've really accepted that in the bones of my being now, that I am not cut out for an ordinary life. I have never had an ordinary life. And sometimes I think it's a great fucking cosmic joke because I honestly believe that I have really had so many pains and traumas and woundings and trials and tribulations and so much muck in my life that it's fucking laughable. Any sort of horrible experience, I feel like I have had that tossed at me. And for a long time, I thought that meant I was a victim. I was burdened by it. I really rejected it and felt like it was, you know, pretty upsetting and like piss poor that I keep on getting all of these things back, like again, back to back, and I'm just so tired. But I have really started to understand now that that is my path. It's not like I'm calling in these experiences to squash me. It's just I am one of those people that has to taste life. I taste life in all its ranges. the extreme polar ends. And you will see this reflected back in my lifetime. I feel like I'm a woman who has lived 137 lifetimes and been a 220 women, and I'm not even, 38 yet. And it's been intense. And I look back, and each moment I've been somebody new and somebody reborn. And that is a gift and a blessing, because being able to sit in the mess, call in these experiences, and sort of transmute them, alchemize them, move through them, I have a very lived, embodied experience of life and of love and of pleasure and of pain. And that is my calling in this life, to then be able to sit here in front of you, with you, side by side with you, and talk from a deeply personal, embodied, lived experience of. This is my gift. So many times people have told me, you don't have to share your personal experiences. You don't have to let people in to see behind the curtain. You can just share the teachings. But the teachings for me move through my body, through my lived experience. And I find that they're able to land and gestate within other people when I share from a real heart-centered, raw space of, this is what I've gone through, this is how I've moved through it, and this is the lesson and the transformation, and this is how I've transmuted it. And I kind of am like the key, sort of, that helps other people then really break it down within their body and being, more so than one of these teachers that sits here on a pedestal and goes, do this, do that, do this, etc. It's completely different. And I've really started to anchor in that, knowing now that using my voice, my personal experiences, my life, and sharing that from a deeply embodied wisdom space is the medicine. Like, that's it. Me just living my life and sharing from that transmission. And it's always deeply felt and resonant when I do. People are like, wow, that really hit me, that landed. I really grasped that. And so, even though these experiences might come off and seem as sort of, got my hands in those little air quotations, bad or negative or wrong, they truly aren't for me. They truly are these light post moments where I'm able to grasp it on a very human level and layer, and then speak on it to help others. I never thought I would be here. I never thought that at 37 years old, I would, be in this long-term relationship, this marriage with an incredible man who really is an incredible man, and doing the work I do, and really coming to a point in my life where I'm like, this is no longer serving me, this is no longer serving us, and we need to move on. And it's heartbreaking and it's grief inflicting, but there's also this like simmering of a different calling and more knowledge and wisdom that I've like anchored in, and coming back home to myself in such a way that I don't even have words for yet, or at this moment in time. It's still dripping in, but I just cannot really grasp how this has happened, because I thought it was a lifetime thing. I was in it, I was committed, I was there. So I'm going to take you back a couple of years, because if you're receiving this at the moment and sitting down with me having a cuppa, then you'll be like, how the fuck did this happen? What happened? What's the story? What is the tea? And I'm going to share, because a lot of people do question their marriage. They do question their commitment and their relationship. It's one of the things that most people come to me with, of course. So I'm going to share what was right for me, what happened, and how I moved through it. And yeah, the wisdom from that, from the ashes, basically. So, like I said, this hasn't been a easy decision or a quick decision. This has actually been going on for a long time, possibly around 5 years to be exact. Me and my husband met when I was 25, and yeah, we've been together for a really long time, 13, 14 years now. And so, yeah, there has been rough patches, many ups and downs through all relationships, but mostly it's been a good relationship, a fantastical, alchemizing, deeply like blew my mind relationship. I didn't know that I could have and experience this type of love and devotion and commitment and care and loyalty. Men are really out there like that, and he has rewired the way I view men on such a deep level and layer of my being. I owe so much praise to him because, yeah, when I met him, I speak about this a lot. I felt like I was broken and wounded, and I had a lot of childhood trauma, and we've both done a lot of healing and growing in this space together. He has like kissed and caressed my wounds a lot, and really allowed me to see who I am as a person and as a woman, and allowed me to just show up in all of these phases of my life and really supported me, absolutely. But a few years ago, I found there was a little bit of a discrepancy in our what we truly wanted. I'm going to be pretty vulnerable and share. Me and my husband, actually, one of the greatest defeats in our relationship was we both really wanted children. We both really wanted children, and we went through a massive fertility journey. I never did IVF or anything like that at the time. I didn't really believe in it for myself and my body. And we did look at other processes as well. But we just tried. We tried naturally. We tried for, it would have been like 5 to 7 years of trying to fall pregnant, trying to be open to conceive. Sometimes we really anchored in and we tried all of these conscious ways to call in our children, to open my body up. I moved through a very conscious fertility journey, all the things, you name it, naturopaths, herbs. This is actually deeply what led me down the path of deep healing, because this is when I actually found and realized I was quite numb and had a lot of sexual trauma I was still holding onto from my childhood. And it was very activated in my marriage. And, you know, this is what I love to help other women through. This is what I am deeply passionate about, especially because I've had that experience. And the fact of the matter is, we weren't able to have children, of course. So after a time and of really forcing my body to open up continuously and failing, and if you this might be touching a chord with you, because I know so many people have gone through fertility journeys and really calling in their children, and some have been able to have children and some have not. And it is one of the most heart-wrenching, excruciating, painful experiences. You start thinking about what is wrong with you, what's wrong with your body. That is a huge one. Oh, yeah. And as somebody who has experienced a lot of childhood trauma, a lot of sexual abuse in my time, to constantly feel like your body is failing or broken, especially when you love somebody and you would be incredible parents, you really start to break down and something happens with your body. Your body starts to close. And it was really interesting because I didn't really realize that at the time, that me continually forcing my body open to, to conceive, to have a baby, and constantly being let down was going to end this way, or being at the end of a marriage because of it. Because there is so much love there and so much tenderness, and we've built a very great foundation of loyalty and love and communication. I've never experienced such loving, conscious communication where I feel safe and seen and held. And it's been work. It's absolutely been work with my work, and really utilizing the tools and modalities. But Steve has really shown up, and I've shown up, and it's really at this beautiful space where it just hums now. It's kind of like a little bit effortless. But unfortunately, it was like the damage had already been done on my body. And it happened a few years ago where my body just decided that it didn't want to open up to him anymore. It decided that sex was painful to the point of not being able to. I didn't want to. My body shut down. My desire stopped. And then so I poked and prodded at myself, being the problem and being the failure, for a long time. And I just got tired. Wow, this is really intense. I'm really blowing my eyes out here. My body got tired. I got tired. I got to a point in my journey where I really had done so much digging and prodding and changing and fixing and healing that my body just no longer wanted to. My body really seen my husband as, I don't even know what my body really thought, because my mind and everything thought completely different. But I didn't want to have sex anymore. I didn't want to open up to have a baby. And my body shut down completely. Physiologically, it closed, and things started to change. So lots of things kind of got off, and I really sat with this, thinking it was me trying to fix everything. But one of the huge indicators where I really felt like this can't is like my sense of smell for him, like that scent of my man changed, and I couldn't stand his smell anymore. Like I was put off by it. It's like my body was a big fat no, and I had been saying yes so much to when I was truly a no and didn't feel like it. And yeah, my body shut down. Now, this has been a huge journey for me, because I live and breathe and talk embodiment and liberation. And so who am I to show up in this space when, I sat with my yes, I didn't sit with my yeses and nos. I pushed past them for so long. And of course, I didn't know it at the time. And when I found out and really learnt about all of this goodness, all of this listening to the body, coming home to the body keeps the score, and really grasping all the threads, it was like it was a little bit too little, or too much, even too late. Like the imprint and the damage had been done. And so I continued pushing and prodding, and we both showed up. We did coaching and different modalities, and changed our communication techniques, and moved through feeling safe. And we did all of the things. And it kind of became a lot, a real big lot. And the very, very end was, after trying all of these things, after moving through sexual practices and all of these things together, we decided to, as a last ditch effort, give ourselves some space. And so not last year, but the year before, we actually decided to give ourselves both some spaciousness from the relationship. And I have seen that this has been a really key and defining moment for a lot of people's relationships in a good and positive way of getting back together, giving themselves some air, finding themselves. We'd been together a long time. We'd both changed so much. When we first got together, I was kind of like this wounded bird. And now I feel like a real empowered, embodied woman. And so, of course, the dynamics are going to shift and change, and the roles have shifted and changed. And so we're like, let's just, and I'm so fucking grateful that I have a partner. I chose a husband, a man of good caliber that is like willing to show up and go and dive into all of these crevices and dynamics, because I am a little bit of an oddball sometimes. I'm quite unique, and he's along for the ride, moving through all these things. They're with me. So I was like, yeah, maybe this is me. Maybe I am just too deeply traumatized or wounded, or something's going on. And we just decided to give ourselves full permission to have space. And so we actually did. We went and gave each other some spaciousness. I moved away from our home. I traveled a little bit. I moved around. I focused on work and clients, and created essentially a whole sort of different life, and missed him and ached for him in some days and ways. And then we spoke all the time. It was very communicative, very conscious. And then we were both speaking about 1 year maximum, and let us come back together and decide where we're at. And so I didn't think it was going to take that long, but yes, we did. And we came back together, and I had such like hopes and dreams and faith, because I did long for him and still was very supported by him and cherished by him. And it was very mutual that my body would have had that break and that pause, and I was able to connect back in with her and really dive into my own feelings and emotions without pressure, without force. And it was going to open up like a flower towards him again, and we were going to be able to move through this like really beautiful reconciliation. And unfortunately, I knew straight away, I dabbled a little bit, I came back as was, that was not going to be the case. That my body was deeply tired and shut down and worn out, and no longer wanting to open up in that way. And then I think the biggest realization for me was like, I didn't want to force it anymore. Even though there's so much love there and so much, like I didn't want, as somebody who has poked and prodded and fixed and healed and like really gotten into the itty gritty bits of my shit again and again, I don't want to feel like my body's wrong. I don't want to feel like my body's broken or not good enough, or I am so tired of that view, that perception. My body wants to feel whole and saturated and delicious and yummy, and I don't want to be doing that anymore to it. And so after we connected, we definitely moved through a space of grief and really sitting with the fact that, yeah, this is the end of our era and time together. And it wasn't just that. There was lots of little things that were sort of pulling at us, like the way we want to live our lives now are kind of really different and very worlds apart. And what's really calling from my heart and like my desire is very different to his. And it kind of, all the pieces were kind of falling into place. And so we made the decision to sell our home, our beloved home. We worked tirelessly. and built up in this beautiful forest nature area on this land. And we've decided to go our separate ways. And we are moving through this. I'm so proud of us. So deliciously, so yummy, so respecting each other's boundaries and emotions. And I have never experienced such a conscious, loving, like separation and parting ways. Everything's been amicable, everything's been easeful, we're both walking away feeling like incredible humans full of love. And like that is what it's supposed to be. Like we're not failures because it didn't work. This relationship has served as a catalyst for our growth and our hearts and who we are as people. And then that is the most successful, yummy, fruitful, delicious thing we could ever experience in love. Because most people walk away from a separation completely distraught and wounded and in pain and hurting. And we actually are not. We are actually moving through this feeling so good in ourselves, giving each other what we need, listening to each other, sharing our hearts, holding each other through it, and really anchoring in that we were incredible together and we have this deep love for each other, and that we will now carry with us as we move out into the world in different ways. And I am just so lucky as a woman to experience that in this life. Because like I said, I am still moving through a fair bit of wounding on who I am and how I show up. Who am I to teach about loving relationships when mine did not so-called work? When what I spoke about, it was the most transformative, life-changing and loving relationship of my entire life. And it absolutely did work and was successful. And I think we're moving out of a time and era where we have to stick with everything, you know, just because even if it's a detriment to ourselves and our well-being. It's the old traditional views, and I don't believe that that's completely correct. I'm not saying that, you know, marriage should be taken lightly or anything like that at all, but I'm absolutely still able to show up and share about sexuality and love and pleasure because I've experienced it. I've lived it. I've experienced over a decade of it. And then now I'm also being able to move through a very conscious, loving, beautiful, powerful portal of separation and divorce, which most people come out the other side of and sort of really crumble and fall apart. And I'm moving through it with such grace and ease and power. And so is my husband, that we're able to, or my ex-husband, and we're able to show up and be like, well, it can happen. Like you can have these, I'm just in awe. I'm really in awe. And I'm still really in this. Like, let's not sugarcoat it. I'm going to have a little drink break here. I'm absolutely in it. I'm still gut wrenched that I have to leave my home. And this was home. This was stability and support and sanctuary and love encapsulated in one. Like this was a dream. Me, my husband, my children in this beautiful piece of land was my dream. And a desire that didn't come to fruition because we realized who we are and what we both want out of life. Now that we're at our age and children has not come to us, looks very wildly different now. So there's a crumbling of the dream and the desire, the person I was that I'm kind of mourning with him, the wife that I'm mourning, and like now moving into this like divorced woman. And it's really raw and vulnerable and upsetting. I've had to move through, can I survive without a man? My man has protected and provided for me. And this has been my new like imprint and my new bar of how can I move in the world without a man? There's been some old fragments within me that are like, how can I provide for myself? Especially in this economy. Like it's horrendous out there. And yeah, these really deeply embedded beliefs of can I survive by myself? Can I do this? And I didn't realize that they were there, but they're definitely there and staring me in the face right now. And I have had to really show up and like sit with myself a lot and my body. And I've had quite a few sort of ailments. As you know, I hurt my pelvis. I've had this breaking out of my body due to like stress and hormones going a little bit crazy and moving through things. I've had a little bit of mold toxicity and some vitamin deficiencies because my body is just like a little bit stressed and a little bit trying to find its new equilibrium per se. And it's been really fucking hard and really rough. Really hard and rough. And so I wanted to share because I speak on being raw and vulnerable all the time. And I speak about using your voice, sharing it. It's medicine. And so this is a really big calling for me to do the same, to let you in to my most intimate and raw life, to show you that I am a walking, living, breathing embodiment of the work that I do. If I want to preach liberation and embodiment and heart essence and radiance, then I need to fucking show up and do that too. And that is what I'm doing. This is my experience. It's been brutal. It's been hard. I've contemplated all of these little aspects of who am I? How can I show up? And it definitely has changed my work. So I truly believe to hold space for anyone, you need to be able to anchor into a certain frequency of non-judgment and this profound love aspect. And I think this is why I'm so good at what I do and holding spaces for people, because I am actually, it's one of my gifts, is I'm able to sit in my heart and really anchor in that non-judgment, non-criticism. You could come to me with your deepest, darkest wounds, shadows, aspects, mucks, kinks, and I will sit in a space of complete like acceptance and love, because I do the same for myself. I absolutely, like, I am an embodiment. I do that for myself. I hold my pieces so tenderly and with full acceptance and love to allow them to shift and change organically. If they, I really believe that love is the key, the missing piece. We don't go through things and like attack them or like force them into submission and rip them out. Like, that is not my style. Like, I have like big mama heart energy. I'm like, yes, we're gonna love this piece into total deliciousness, and it's just gonna do it naturally. And so I am that type of person you come to with that sort of stuff, and I'm able to hold space. And the reason why I'm so incredible at holding couples is because I genuinely am able to hold space for two separate individuals, male, female, anybody, and sit in a non-biased space. I am able to hold that space for the man in front of me, hold that space for the woman in front of me, hold that space for the couple in front of me. And they really feel it. That's one of my reflections from a lot of my clients, is there is this non-biased, like complete holding of these two people. And that's what I believe makes a truly fantastic and incredible like coach or therapist, especially with couples. And you don't find that a lot, because a lot of space holders have their own bias. And I've done a lot of work around my bias around men, masculine, relationships, all of these things. And I've had a beautiful imprint. Like, I've actually rewired my imprint from somebody who used to call in completely abusive, toxic men into my life, rewired it, and was able to feel safe and anchored in to a completely different frequency and relationship model. And that is alchemical fucking rewiring and repatterning at its finest. So proud of that. Chef's kiss. And so I was able to do that. But if you haven't noticed, the last couple of years, I've kind of shifted away from holding space for couples and relationships and dynamics because of my own internal bias that I'm moving through. Right. And I feel like that is the most incongruent thing I could absolutely do is step away, hold space for myself, my own wounds as a priority, my own grief and heart and body purging of all of these lower lying belief systems of I'm not good enough, I'm a failure, I can't do it, relationships are a crock of shit, or whatever is stirring inside of me from this heartbreak and grief, or, and really just sit with all of them, who I am as a person, and not hold space for couples. So I haven't been holding that because, yeah, I have gone through, like, if I can't even make this work with such an incredible, amazing man and human that I actually do love a lot, how relationships can't be real, how they can't work. And I know that is not truth. I can feel the fear and edge there and the sharpness of its like sting that is reactive within me. And it is sort of unwinding and processing. Like these horrible paradigms that kind of get fed to us all the time, that like men are shit and terrible and all of these things. You really have to sift through all of them and release them to be able to hold such transformative, beautiful space. And so, let me have another drink of my coconut water. This is why I've actually taken a huge step back from holding spaces of like relationships relating, and even my relationship workshop / retreat that was going ahead kind of fell through. Like the energy wasn't there. It wasn't in alignment. We didn't sell enough. I believe we sold enough tickets, but for my collaborator, she believed we didn't. And it kind of got cancelled and all fell apart, and everything in divine alignment, right? I truly believe that, yeah, like I'm still processing and working and moving through this space of like divorce, separation, coming out the other side, moving through my own internal biases and scripts and fragments of relationships and relating and marriage and all of these things. And I will be processing them for a while. Like I don't think it's going to be this one and done thing. And so I have definitely redirected a little bit and focusing more on women at this moment in time, because that is something I am that. I am deeply a woman that will step through the transmutation fire. I am a woman that will stand in the fire like and burn and allow it to shift and change me. I will be reborn and die 1,000 times in this lifetime. It's the process I know well because it is the liberation path. And I chose nothing less. I absolutely chose nothing less. It's a lot. It's a lot to process. And I'm just sitting here in my home, in my office, knowing it's the last podcast I'm really anchoring in here. And I'm like, what better time and place to talk about this, really? I leave in a couple of days and I'm done and releasing this space. And it's huge. And of course, I'm going to share my journey with you guys and be like, this is what my life is. And I'll absolutely be a permission slip to listen to your heart, to listen to your body. Oh, God, listen to your body. If I had it just stings so much. If I had one thing that I wish to share from this journey, it is to listen to your body before it's too late. And I mean that so much because I was speaking to my goddaughter, my sweet goddaughter, the other day on the phone. And she's getting to that age, right, where she's interested in boys. She's getting her license. It's so cute. And
my best friend, my childhood best friend, had her quite young. I love this angel. And her mum and me were talking about my relationships. So I tend to the paradigm I used to always sit in is I used to call forward very abusive men, very nonchalant, like avoidant men. And they would try and break me down, and it was quite horrific. And I can sit with my own, I don't like to sit in victim. So this is, I don't like to sit in it and be like, oh, they were the abuser, I was a victim. I very much enabled them. I didn't know any better. I contributed in ways that would really cement this dynamic. And my girlfriend was asking what is the best advice for my daughter not to attract men like that? Because I'm going to break it down real for you right now. When I was in this separation, I did kind of call in a man that reminded me quite a lot of this past dynamics that I would fall into and relationship patterns. And I was so like, what? I thought I learned my lesson. Like, I thought I rewired this. What the hell is going on? That story is for another day, my friends, because that is a wild ride in and of itself and such a huge activation and initiation. But I wanted to share because we were speaking of it, and I was like, the best indication that I can give you, like the one thing, I gave a lot of advice, but the number one advice was listen to your body. Be in touch with your body, so in touch with your body that you can really feel the tinge of when something's not right. Because let me tell you, your body will know long before you switch on to what is going on with the dynamic. On reflection, each and every dynamic I got into, there was a tugging in my body and a gnawing and this sinking feeling, like my body could tell something was off. And because I wasn't connected to my body due to a lot of trauma, disassociation in my childhood, I didn't understand intuition. I didn't get women's intuition. I didn't grasp that my body was screaming at me to run the other way. And I tried to change it with my mind. I used to just push that away. I used to make excuses. I used to like mind over body. And it was really my body that was screaming to me, like, and I tried to make it logic. It wasn't logic, it wasn't reason, but a woman's body, a woman's sensational beingness is not logic and reason. Like, it is not logic and reason. You can't logic and reason your way into sensations and intuition and deep body knowing, but your body knows. Your body will pick up. And this is why your best defense mechanism in this life is to be so connected to your body. My body could tell me that something was off, even in my dynamic with my husband. My body was screaming at me, and I constantly was telling it to shut up or shutting it down or saying yes when it was a no, and that again cost me. Every time I've had this feeling in my body that something was off or something was not right, like, I didn't know, and I would silence it. And I really spoke to my God. I'm like, that is connect to your body, be in your intuition, because you will feel it. Something will just feel a little bit not right. Something will be a little bit off. And you'll try, and your mind wants to make sense of it and go, oh, but he's not doing this, he's not doing that, like, and logically pick it apart. And it's, don't listen to that. Feel into it. And it can be tricky because if you have had a lot of wounding or pain or childhood traumas, you can think that you're taught not to trust your body. You're taught to disassociate from your body, be disconnected. And this is the world we live in. And so our best chance at being empowered and really humming at our own beautiful organic essence is to be so in tune with our body. So, my loves, oh, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm gonna have another sip of coconut water. I have a lot of people tell me quite often that I have a very sort of closed aura. It's very impactful, very powerful, but I don't let a lot of people in, like deeply into this sort of aspect. And I hope you feel really like we're sitting across from each other and I'm just like talking to you like I'm talking on the phone and we're just catching up and we're best friends, because honestly, if you have moved through something like this or you're moving through something like this, like I feel you, I see you, and oh, whew, it is an initiation. Divorce and separation is an initiation in and of its own. And yeah, who I am out the other side of this, I still am figuring out. I still do not know. All I truly know in my heart that I've had to sit with again and again, that this is true. This is truth. This is right. And as much as it feels horrible and awful and wrong and all of this bubbling has come up to the surface, it's still right and it's still true. And I've got to anchor in that knowing again and again and again. For myself, for my heart, because I can feel it. I can feel the freedom in my cells like opening back up again and the aliveness coming back through and being able to like move in a whole new way. And so even though I have like moved through and grieved and processed a lot of like the relationship over this course of time, and I actually feel pretty good right now, there will still be waves and it will come and go. And especially because my greatest calling at this moment is like, I don't know what it is. I'm completely surrendering and moving into this wild, unknown space. And a lot of people don't understand that just yet. A lot of people are really in this, wow, you had the house, you had the marriage, like that was the life. And I don't think I've ever been one of those people that was born to live in this structure, stable life. As a matter of fact, I'm completely throwing caution to the wind, and just my greatest calling and yearning of my heart right now is to set up my car. I talk about it a lot. Goldie, she's beautiful, with a swag, and just drive into the great unknown. No plan, no rules, no structures, no nothing, no maps, and just driving around Australia for a bit. And I'm really listening to what my body wants, what the calling is, because anything is possible. And I trust. I trust the creator, creation, the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. I trust energy. And I trust this opening to be the greatest experience of my life. Like, because I have done so much work. I have purged and released and bled and cried and moved. Like, I don't feel like me as a woman actually moves from a place of wounding anymore, from that wounded little girl aspect. I feel like I move from a deeply heart-centered, loving, powerful, passionate place. And I don't really care if it doesn't look correct or true to society, because at the end of the day, I don't really believe in the structured society system anyway, people think I'm like lost my mind. Like even some of my own family members are like, oh, you've got the house, you've got the husband, just sit there and why would you, what's wrong with you? You're just gonna, and I am frothing at it. I am absolutely frothing at this like wild aspect of me that I have been able to really anchor in and reclaim, that I kind of pushed aside for so long. It is a part of me. She's a huge part of me, and she has been screaming at me from my womb for so long. And this is the time where I'm like, yes, every piece and part of me gets to come along for this journey. No more compartmentalization, no more suffocation and repressing. Like this aspect is coming along for this ride, and I don't care what it looks like to anybody else. I don't care if at the age of 37 and me having my life together and having this beautiful business and clients, like it looks anything other than a woman living a fucking well-lived, delicious life. That is all I'm interested in. So I am moving into this era of, I call it like my chaotic fuck it era. But really, it is all about just like reclamation and like wild liberation. And I am a yes to that as a woman, as a spicy senorita. So that's where I'm at. That is my life. That is what I've been moving through. That is the story of my divorce and my separation. And the last few years have been the hardest few years of my life. But I feel like I'm right at the end now of the portal, the tunnel, and I am like actually crowning and starting to be born again. And I'm really excited for you to come along with me on this ride and journey, on this next evolution and transmutation of Sheeana, because it's going to be a wild ride. It's going to be spicy. No, but I am a bit spicy, but truly, I am here for it. I'm ready. I wasn't for a long time, and I have just been very holding this like all together and kind of secretive. No, not secretive, just keeping it close to me, my clients, my nearest and dearest, as I moved through the process of it, and was able to show up in full empowerment of it without crumbling and feeling like I'm this sort of victim or everything's so sad, because it's not. It is and it's not. The great cosmic paradox, right? So thanks for coming along with me today for Alchemy with Sheeana Leigh. How this is going to happen moving forward, I still do not know. I'm taking a little bit of a pause for my one-on-one clients, just because I have so many creative juices flowing through me right now. I have some very creative projects behind the scenes, new website, all of this goodness that I'm really going to pour into. And I find with my one-on-one clients, and then whilst like traveling around, I'm not going to be able to like sink into them. So I'm kind of taking a little bit of a hiatus and a pause from that, and definitely moving into like my creative juices and flow with what I want to share with the world, and hopefully start this great, legendary, iconic empire, because that is what I'm anchoring into again and again. That's my calling right now. And so I'm going to surrender to it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to keep sharing like wild snippets of me and my adventures. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. Me on the road, like I don't know. I also don't even know if I'm going to do that. I could end up overseas. I could end up, in the jungle. Who knows? And you know what? That's God's business. I just need to receive and listen and follow my body and the call, and that is I'm okay with that. I'm down with that. I hope you enjoyed this. It was a different flavor than usual. I hope you got a lot of wisdom from this and my experience, and yeah, my embodied wisdom of what it's like to move through divorce and separation and the wild unknown, and following your heart. And let me be a permission slip for you to do the same, to listen to your heart, to listen to your body, to listen to the call again and again, and not care what it looks like to other people, because we are all so unique and we all have different flavors and textures to us. And that's what makes us this beautiful, big ecosystem. I'm sending you lots of love, and I'm looking forward to hearing your comments and check-ins and responses and how you found this episode. Again, if you would love to support me and my work so I'm still able to show up and do this and bring this to you, you can follow the Buy Me a Coffee link, purchase a coffee. So next time I'll actually have a coffee here with me, and I'll be like I'm having a coffee with you. It'd be fantastic. And we'll see you next time. Who knows where I'll be and what I'll be doing. And I can't wait for you to tune in and find out. Bye.